Justice Barrett's pivotal role in shaping Supreme Court discussions on abortion and presidential immunity. Between conservatism and independence, Justice Barrett's critical role in shaping Supreme Court outcomes. In recent sessions at the Supreme Court, Justice Amy Coney Barrett has come to the forefront during discussions on two major cases that could redefine the boundaries of abortion rights and the extent of presidential immunity. As the court contemplates these critical issues, Barrett's inquiries and remarks have highlighted her significant influence in shaping the debates and potentially the outcomes of these landmark cases. Justice Barrett, appointed by former President Donald Trump shortly before the 2020 election, has been perceived as a steadfast member of the court's conservative wing. However, her role in recent high-profile cases suggests a more complex judicial philosophy that does not always align strictly along partisan lines. This has been particularly evident in her approach to the cases heard this week, where her active participation in oral arguments has drawn attention. One of the cases involves a strict abortion ban from Idaho, which Barrett scrutinized intensely during the hearings. She expressed surprise at the state lawyer's interpretation of how the law would be applied in real-life scenarios, particularly in cases involving medical emergencies that could endanger the life of a pregnant woman. Her pointed questions aimed to clarify the practical implications of the law, revealing her concern for the real-world impact of judicial decisions. In another session focused on presidential immunity, Barrett played a crucial role in steering the discussion towards the distinction between a president's official acts and private behavior. This case, arising from actions taken by Trump, challenges the scope of legal protections afforded to a president's activities while in office. Barrett's insightful queries helped elucidate important legal distinctions that could influence the court's decision, emphasizing her pivotal role in these discussions. Barrett's judicial approach during these cases illustrates her ability to navigate complex legal landscapes with a balance of conservatism and a willingness to probe beyond partisan considerations. Her interactions in court have not only demonstrated her legal acumen but also her potential as a moderating force on a bench often divided by ideological lines. The implications of Barrett's decisions are far-reaching. In the abortion case, her scrutiny of the law's application speaks to a broader judicial responsibility to consider the implications of legal restrictions on women's health and autonomy. In the presidential immunity case, her differentiation between personal and official actions underlines crucial considerations for the limits of executive power and accountability. Observers like Steve Vladeck, a CNN Supreme Court analyst and law professor, have noted Barrett's growing comfort and assertiveness in her role, suggesting that her influence is expanding at a crucial time for the court. As the Supreme Court continues to tackle divisive and pivotal cases, Barrett's contributions are likely to be decisive in shaping its jurisprudence. Furthermore, Barrett's interactions with other justices and legal advocates during these hearings have been telling. Her ability to challenge both conservative and liberal perspectives and to engage deeply with the legal issues at hand underscores her role as a critical thinker on the court. This ability to cross ideological boundaries may make her a key player in determining the court's direction in the coming years. With her thoughtful and probing approach, Barrett is poised to leave a significant mark on the Supreme Court's legacy. This detailed examination of Justice Amy Coney Barrett's role in the Supreme Court's recent sessions reveals a justice who is both a product of her conservative background and an independent thinker capable of influencing the court's most critical decisions. Her dynamic presence in these high-stakes cases highlights her growing stature as a jurist and her potential to impact major legal doctrines in the United States. Supreme Court's Barrett guides key legal debate on Trump's immunity. During a pivotal Supreme Court session, Justice Amy Coney Barrett showcased her influential role in a case involving former President Donald Trump's claim of sweeping immunity. This case, which has captured national attention, concerns allegations of election subversion during Trump's tenure, as outlined by special counsel Jack Smith. As the second least senior justice, Barrett, seated at the far end of the Supreme Court's mahogany bench, demonstrated a commanding presence in the nearly 3-hour oral argument. Her incisive questioning and strategic inquiries placed her at the epicenter of the legal discourse, marking her as a crucial figure in determining the trajectory of this high-profile case. The session centered on the nature of actions taken by Trump, specifically distinguishing between his private and official actions. This distinction is critical, as it influences the extent of immunity former presidents can claim regarding actions taken while in office. Justice Barrett's engagement in this dialogue was particularly striking, as she guided Trump's attorney John Sauer through a series of hypothetical scenarios. These scenarios were carefully designed to mirror the allegations laid out in Smith's indictment and aimed to clarify the legal boundaries of presidential conduct. During the proceedings, Barrett posed a hypothetical situation involving a private attorney who disseminated false claims of election fraud to challenge the election results. This scenario seemingly referenced Rudy Giuliani, who has been implicated in the case as co-conspirator 1. By framing the question around the nature of Giuliani's actions, whether they were private or official, Barrett sought to ascertain from Sauer the categorization of such conduct under the law. Private, Barrett inquired pointedly during the exchange. "That sounds private to me," Sauer conceded, acknowledging the non-official nature of the actions discussed. Barrett's line of questioning did not stop there. She continued to probe the implications of categorizing actions as private, engaging with the special counsel's attorney, Michael Dreeben. She explored whether the legal proceedings could focus solely on the private conduct, potentially sidelining the issues related to official duties. This approach suggested a pathway to bring the case to trial more expediently, reflecting the urgency expressed by the prosecution. The special counsel has expressed some concern for speed and wanting to move forward, Barrett noted. She then posed a critical question: couldn't the special counsel just proceed based on the private conduct and drop the official conduct? Dreeben responded affirmatively, indicating that such a strategy might be feasible if the court established a criterion that predominantly categorized Trump's post-election actions as private rather than official. This conversation underscored a possible legal strategy that could simplify the case by focusing on actions clearly outside the official scope of presidential duties. Legal experts and observers have highlighted Barrett's pivotal role in these proceedings. Ilya Soman, a law professor at George Mason University, remarked on her influence, stating, "She clearly thinks the prosecution can proceed if it focuses on private acts rather than official ones, and most of the conduct alleged against Trump seems private to her." This perspective aligns with Barrett's questioning, which consistently aimed to delineate the boundaries between private misconduct and actions taken in an official capacity. Barrett's approach during the session exemplifies her judicial philosophy, which appears to bridge conservative principles with a pragmatic consideration of legal realities. Her ability to dissect complex legal issues and her readiness to challenge conventional interpretations of the law signify her growing stature within the Supreme Court. As the legal community and the public continue to analyze the implications of this case, Barrett's contributions are likely to be viewed as defining moments in her Supreme Court tenure. Her questions not only highlighted the critical legal issues at stake, but also shaped the dialogue around presidential immunity and accountability. This detailed examination of Justice Barrett's role in the Supreme Court's deliberations on presidential immunity illustrates her critical influence on one of the most consequential legal debates of our time. Her strategic questioning and the insights she elicited from the attorneys underscore her pivotal role in navigating the complex interplay of law and presidential power. As the case progresses, her impact on the final decisions will be keenly observed, potentially setting precedents that could shape the landscape of American constitutional law. High stakes in the High Court: the battle over emergency abortion rights. During a recent Supreme Court hearing focused on the highly contentious abortion legislation from Idaho, a profound dialogue unfolded, shedding light on the complexities of the law's application, particularly in emergency medical situations. The discussion, which spanned several moments of intense scrutiny by the justices, highlighted the critical role of the judiciary in interpreting legislation that touches directly on public health and individual rights. The oral arguments began with Justice Sonia Sotomayor, a prominent liberal voice on the court, delving into the practical implications of Idaho's strict abortion ban. This law allows abortions only when the pregnant woman's life is at risk, a stipulation that has sparked considerable debate regarding its interpretation and implementation under urgent medical circumstances. Justice Sotomayor posed a poignant question to Josh Turner, the attorney representing Idaho, about scenarios such as early water breakage in pregnancy, which could lead to severe complications like sepsis or uncontrollable bleeding. These conditions, she implied, demanded immediate medical intervention, often necessitating procedures that the state's law could potentially restrict. Turner's response was carefully measured, suggesting that such decisions would typically require a doctor's good faith medical judgment to determine if the condition posed a life-threatening risk. This nuanced answer pointed to the underlying tension between state legislation and the medical realities faced by healthcare providers. It was at this juncture that Justice Amy Coney Barrett interjected with a pointed critique that would resonate as a defining moment in the arguments. She expressed surprise over Turner's interpretation, contrasting it with prior statements made by Idaho's legal team, which suggested a broader scope for emergency medical interventions under the law. Barrett's incisive follow-up underscored a perceived inconsistency in the state's position, questioning whether Idaho's experts had previously indicated that such emergency situations would indeed fall outside the ban. "I'm kind of shocked, actually," Barrett stated, her words capturing the courtroom's attention. "I thought your own expert had said below that these kinds of cases were covered, and you're now saying they're not." Turner attempted to clarify, but Barrett pressed on, highlighting the critical nature of clear legal definitions in ensuring that the law does not unduly endanger women's lives by preventing necessary medical care. Her interjection brought to light the broader implications of the law, probing whether Idaho's regulations could effectively coexist with federal mandates that require emergency rooms to stabilize patients experiencing medical emergencies, as stipulated by federal health regulations. This intersection of state and federal law is pivotal, particularly when considering the potential health risks to pregnant women. She noted that the oral arguments serve as a vital mechanism for the justices to peel back the layers of legislative intent and practical impact, going beyond what is often captured in the written briefs. This is where someone like Justice Barrett gets to pressure test an advocate's points, Brinkman explained, highlighting the interactive nature of Supreme Court hearings that allows justices to clarify, challenge, and dissect the arguments presented to them. The discourse in the courtroom, driven by questions from justices like Barrett and Sotomayor, thus serves not only to elucidate the specifics of the case at hand, but also to address larger questions about the balance of legal authority, the scope of medical ethics, and the rights of individuals under the U.S. Constitution. These discussions are crucial in shaping how laws are understood and applied across the country, reflecting the judiciary's essential role in interpreting the often complex interplay between different layers of law. As the case progresses, the implications of the court's decision will likely resonate well beyond Idaho, influencing future legislation and judicial decisions related to abortion and emergency medical care. The justices' questions and the responses they elicit continue to frame a narrative that will inform public understanding and legal precedent in the ongoing debate over reproductive rights and state power. The depth of the justices' inquiries into Idaho's abortion law during this session underscores the critical importance of judicial review in cases where legal texts meet real-world medical and ethical challenges. Their rigorous examination of the arguments not only clarifies the legal landscape, but also ensures that essential rights and protections are considered in the court's final decision.